The ongoing war in Ukraine, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022, has continuously evolved with each passing year, and by 2025 the battlefield has transformed into a testing ground for next-generation military technologies, international alliances, and hybrid warfare strategies, but the announcement and subsequent arrival of a new U.S. weapons system that is capable of turning the entire Russian front into what military analysts describe as a kill zone, marks a dramatic shift in the balance of power, because Ukraine has long sought advanced precision-guided munitions that could offset Russia's numerical advantage in manpower and artillery, and with Washington now supplying a groundbreaking generation of smart bombs, long-range strike systems, and AI-assisted targeting capabilities, the Ukrainian armed forces are not only gaining tools to disrupt Russian logistics but also rewriting the doctrines of modern warfare, as these munitions are reportedly faster, more accurate, more mobile, and deadlier than Russia's infamous glide bombs, which had previously given Moscow an upper hand in suppressing Ukrainian defensive lines. To fully understand the significance of this moment, one must trace the arc of the war itself, from Russia's initial attempt to rapidly seize Kyiv through a special military operation that failed due to fierce Ukrainian resistance, Western sanctions, and a resilient national spirit, to the grinding trench warfare of 2023 and 2024 where both sides suffered immense casualties in battles across Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, but neither could achieve a decisive breakthrough, and into this bloody stalemate, Western weaponry such as HIMARS rocket systems, Leopard tanks, Patriot missile defenses, and F-16 fighter jets gradually arrived to bolster Ukraine. Yet none of these deliveries completely altered the battlefield balance the way this new U.S. weapons deal is expected to do, because according to reports, the system combines precision strike missiles with advanced sensors, satellite coordination, and autonomous drones capable of mapping Russian positions in real time, thereby allowing Ukraine to designate Russian artillery bases, fuel depots, command posts, and supply convoys as instant targets, essentially converting large swaths of contested territory into zones of near-certain destruction for any Russian unit caught moving in the open. This capability is critical because Russia has relied heavily on massed artillery barrages and deep supply networks stretching from Rostov-on-Don to occupied Crimea, and by interdicting these logistical arteries, Ukraine can severely disrupt Moscow's war machine, forcing Russian troops into defensive postures and potentially opening the door for Ukrainian counteroffensives aimed at liberating occupied territories, and this is precisely why Russian military planners have already raised alarms, calling the U.S. move a dangerous escalation and vowing countermeasures, possibly through hypersonic missiles, electronic warfare, or intensified bombardments of Ukrainian infrastructure. Yet the reality remains that Russia's industrial capacity, though formidable, is strained by sanctions, manpower shortages, and the cost of sustaining a protracted conflict, while Ukraine, though smaller, benefits from the backing of NATO intelligence, Western financial support, and the resolve of a population fighting for survival, which means that technology rather than sheer numbers could define the outcome in this next phase of the war. Furthermore, the political symbolism of this new weapon cannot be overstated, because for Ukraine it represents America's unwavering commitment to its sovereignty, a message to allies and adversaries alike that Washington is prepared to invest in Kyiv's long-term victory, while for Russia it is a bitter reminder that its gamble to intimidate the West into passivity has failed, since NATO remains united and even expanding, with Finland and Sweden joining, and the European Union stepping up defense spending in unprecedented ways, thereby reshaping the security architecture of Europe for decades to come. And in the broader global context, this arms transfer underscores the re-emergence of great power competition, as China watches closely, calculating how the US and its allies respond to Russia in order to draw lessons for its own ambitions regarding Taiwan, while countries in the global south weigh whether alignment with Moscow or with the West better serves their interests, especially in energy markets, arms trade, and food security. But within Ukraine itself, the arrival of this new weapon sparks both hope and anxiety, because while soldiers on the front welcome any tool that could end the war sooner and reduce casualties, civilians worry that Russia will retaliate more brutally with missile strikes on cities, power grids, and civilian infrastructure, plunging millions back into blackouts, shortages, and displacement, and thus the humanitarian dimension remains dire, with millions of refugees already scattered across Europe, families torn apart, and a generation of children growing up in war. Even as the prospect of advanced Western weaponry offers a glimmer of eventual liberation, analysts describe the kill zone concept as a tactical revolution, where Ukrainian units equipped with advanced targeting systems can lure Russian armor and infantry into designated corridors, only to annihilate them through coordinated strikes from artillery, drones, and precision missiles. creating a battlefield dynamic where maneuver becomes perilous and mobility is punished, which is the opposite of what Russia has long tried to enforce with its numerical superiority, and if successfully implemented, this could erode Russian morale, sap its offensive capability, and push the Kremlin into a political dilemma of whether to escalate further, possibly even threatening nuclear rhetoric, or to seek negotiations under unfavorable terms. But so far President Vladimir Putin has shown little willingness to compromise, framing the war as an existential battle against Western encirclement, while President Volodymyr Zelensky continues to demand full restoration of Ukraine's territorial integrity, including Crimea, which makes any diplomatic off-ramp increasingly narrow. Still, history teaches that wars of attrition often hinge on technological surprises, whether it was the introduction of tanks in World War I, radar in World War II, or drones in the conflicts of the Middle East, and in this sense the new U.S. weapon package could be remembered as a turning point, a moment when Ukraine transcended its role as merely defending and instead seized the initiative to reshape the front, though the risks remain immense, because Russia retains vast nuclear arsenals, a capacity for mass mobilization, and the willingness to endure high casualties, making it unlikely that a single technological edge alone will bring the war to a swift conclusion. Nonetheless, the psychological effect is profound, both on the battlefield and internationally, as headlines proclaim Russia's frontline as a kill zone, sowing fear among Russian conscripts and energizing Ukrainian fighters, while policymakers in Washington, Brussels, and Moscow all grapple with the new strategic calculus, and ultimately, the war in Ukraine is no longer just about borders, territory, or sovereignty, but about the future of the world order itself, whether authoritarian aggression can redraw maps by force or whether alliances and technological innovation can uphold the principles of international law. And in this struggle the introduction of the new U.S. weapon is not just another chapter but potentially a decisive shift whose reverberations will be felt far beyond the battlefields of Donbass and Kherson, across the corridors of global power, shaping security doctrines, alliance structures, and the fate of nations for decades to come.